Once upon a time, there was nothing except God. Can't even say there was dark or light. There was just God. And this isn't some big theological point of, did God recognize God in the dark or before time? Because I think God lives outside of time and space, and in it as well. It wraps around itself onto him. But God said, I want to do something. And so God started creating. And so God got busy. He created the skies. He created the heavens. He created the stars. He created the planets. And he's still creating them today. And on this one planet, this third planet from the sun in this solar system, not even close to the center of the universe, God started doing additional work. God made the heavens and the earth specific to this, called it the atmosphere. I don't think he called it anything, but we do. And he separated the lands from the waters. And he created an environment. And the only thing that separates Earth, the planet that we live on, from just about any planet, desolate planet out there, is our atmosphere and this roughly 13 inches of black dirt that lay across much of our planet. That our water stays here, and that this soil is capable of growing plants. And so God, after he did the big heavy work with the continents and with the oceans and with the lakes and the streams and the rivers, he set his sights on figuring out this tree business. And he started doing trees. And if you look, it is absolutely amazing what he can do. And I know science along the way has found a way to explain it a lot better than what the Bible does in terms of the minutia detail. But I'm not so sure that it gets the heart of what God does here in these trees and in this vegetation, and even in our plants, which help us, which allow us to be alive in this world today. So God does all this. God does all this as we go forward. God does all this. And then all of a sudden he says, okay, I need some actors. Maybe a dog named Evan, named after Evan Almighty, a dog who certainly thinks he's God. And so God created goats. He created goats like Charlemagne and Trouble and Velma. He created things like hippopotamus and giraffes. If you don't think God has a sense of humor, start looking at some of the animals that God created. That is amazing what he has done. And then he created the birds as well. He created chickens, and he created dogs, and he created cats. And honestly, you think it's this wonderful, clean story, but it's not, because it's messy. Because creation, of course, is messy. And on the top of it all, beyond all of this, God created human beings. He created man, and he created woman. Now, we are certainly not as messy as chickens are. Although, sometimes looking at my own children, I beg to differ. And so, we have creation. Now, the question I ask sometimes is, well, what's the point? What's this all about? And the answer here is that human being, man and woman, were made at the top of creation, And what is the reason behind that? What is the reason behind God's doing that? Why are we at the top of the pyramid? Is it so we can lord over and do whatever we want? Or is it to steward and to protect and to take care of? Not just the planet, which I think is important, but each other. And we don't necessarily do a good job of that. And that's where the fall story comes in. This idea that God wants us so badly to get along, and God so badly wants for us to enjoy the garden. And we can't do that. We can't do that. And that's the need for Christ. Everything comes down to a couple things. Sin, the law, everything points to our inability to do what needs to be done and to our need for Christ. The law protects our neighbors from ourselves and ourselves from our neighbors. It really does. The world is better because we follow the laws. And I think our lives are better because of the laws. But so there's twofold in the law. But it really comes down to this going forward into creation, understanding that you are co-creators with God now. You are called to go out into the world and create. And this year we're going to be creating stories. We're going to be telling these stories and we're going to mess them up, and they're not going to be perfect, and they're going to be silly, and we're going to put them on YouTube, and people are going to watch them, and it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. And I encourage you to participate in this story that goes forward, this story of God at work, and we get to be a part of that. So God's blessings to you. On Tuesday and Thursday of this week, we will have tours going out, 9 o'clock in the morning from Trinity on both days. We'll be home between 3:30, right around 3:30. We're going up to the Lower Sioux Agency. We're going to learn about history, and we're going to learn about the early pioneers of this area, and maybe a little bit about devotions and where God fits into all that. So God's blessings to you as well, and God bless America on this as we remember 9/11.